Welcome to Parent Coaches Unleashed, the podcast where we dive into the highs, lows, and did that really just happen moment of parenting teens and young adults. We're Carrie and Jessica, parent coaches, mythbusters, and occasional referees in the battle of hormones versus common sense.
If you've ever wondered, is this just happening to me? You're not alone. We're here to help you with real talk, expert advice, and hopefully a few laughs along the way. Need more support? We also offer private coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements because sometimes even parents don't have all the answers.
So continue listening as we tackle this parenting journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I am great. It seems to be the last few times that we've recorded, there's a issue going on in my condo building. I guess this is the pros and cons of living
In an
out
apartment building.
east and in an apartment. But
Yeah.
the AC had a little issue, and I was sitting in 81 degrees, which
Carrie
not
couldn't tell
very.
if she was having a menopause hot flash or if she was something was wrong with the AC. So
But
I'm
I'm
glad it was the AC.
glad to report it was the AC, and now it's been fixed. So I should be way more comfortable with our conversation today until we get into the topics that we have coming up today.
Well, so it's interesting because you bring up the heat and it being in Florida, and it's summertime in Florida, so it's hotter than usual out there. So it also leads us to talking about what's going on in our neighborhoods during summertime. And we're seeing a lot more kids around, a lot more kids on the street. And there's definitely been, especially in our neighborhood, there's been a lot of controversy over kids being on their e-bikes. So definitely a topic that Carrie and I wanted to bring to you guys, to our listeners. I know it's not isolated to our area. I know that my sister in New York talks about these problems. So we decided to reach out to Captain Michele McCardle to talk to us about what we need to know about these e-bikes and just a conversation about the legalities and keeping our kids safe for the summer. So please join us in welcoming Captain Michele McCardle to our show. Hi, Captain.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here. I'm just really curious, though. How did this happen? Can you give us a little background and a little bit of your career, how you became a police captain?
Sure. Well, I started 25 years ago with the Broward Sheriff's Office shortly after graduating with my bachelor's degree. Um, I started as a child protective investigator, actually as a civilian, investigating child abuse for the Broward Sheriff's Office. And shortly after that, I ended up going to the police academy and became a deputy sheriff. So I worked road patrol for about 3 years before I went into the detective bureau, and I did that detective and detective sergeant for about 15 years, working sex crimes, child abuse, animal abuse, elderly abuse, those type of major investigations. Before I went out to the city of Weston and was the assistant chief out there, and then was promoted to captain here in Parkland about 3.5 years ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, that's some career you've had.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're a mom as well, correct?
I am. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter and a son. They're teenagers, so they keep me extra busy. I call it like my second job. This is my first
Yes.
job, and then my second job, which is the harder job for me.
Yes,
I'm
for
the
sure.
mom to
Yeah.
relate.
Yeah.
So then you get a glimpse into wearing both hats, parent and officer. I'm interested to know if you are able to separate the two. Are you always looking at parenting with your police lens, or are you able to separate the two?
My kids would say I'm always looking at parenting through the police lens, especially my daughter would say that. Just my background, obviously I started police work and was a detective before I even had kids,
Mhm.
had kids. And just the type of investigations that I did just made me very aware of, unfortunately, some of the things that go on in our community. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, my kids would say I wear that police hat all the time. So
Well, I
it's
have
hard to
to
separate.
yeah, I could imagine that being and seeing what you have seen, that you come with a whole different perspective,
Mhm.
trying to keep your kids as well as our kids and everybody else's kids safe, but
Safe, yeah.
I'm sure it hits home differently for you.
Yeah, for us, it's about open communication
Mm.
and, like reminding my daughter, I did have a life before you and, I did all the things even though she doesn't really believe that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, she just sees me as a mom. So, just having open communication and talking to them about things that happen or could happen. I think that's really important, having that open dialogue and
Mhm.
not coming from a place of, "Oh, my kid would never,"
Right.
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
they
Yes.
So
do, or their friends do, or,
right.
so.
But that's a great segue. Do you
Yeah.
think that that's part of the problem? Listen, it's all over social media. Is part of the problem parents not having a conversation with their kids about proper e-bike use?
Think what's also part of it is, um, just discussing scenarios. A lot of times I tell my kids, just because you can do it, i.e., it's not illegal or you can do something, doesn't mean you should do something, you know? Like for take an example, the kids that are ringing people's doorbell and banging on the door and kicking the doors. And generally, that's not illegal, but I think talking about what could come of that, what are
Mhm.
some of the consequences? Somebody could think you're breaking into their home. Um, if the police were to respond, how they would treat you because they think that maybe it's a burglary in progress. So I think talking about the what ifs, I think, is important, not just ending at, well, they're just knocking on somebody's door.
Right.
Right. Right. You talked about it's not about being illegal or the laws, but is there something that parents need to know about the regulation with e-bikes that they should actually share and inform their children if they're purchasing one and saying, "Here, go ride to the park or get yourself to your summer job." And what liability do parents face if their child causes an accident or is involved in one?
Right. An e-bike is under this, or is regulated rather, under the same laws as a regular self-propelled bike. So you
Okay.
have to follow the rules of the road. And even though e-bike, which is classified an e-bike when it's under 750 volts, is legal, just like a bike is, right? You kind of have to talk to your kids about safety issues, right?
Mhm.
When you're teaching your child to ride a bike, not only are you teaching them how to be safe, but cars aren't necessarily looking out for them. Even though the e-bike may be in the crosswalk, and we've seen this unfortunately, they still may get involved into an accident. So, again, just because they can ride wherever a regular bike does, doesn't mean that they should, especially in
Mhm.
at nighttime or at low light conditions, things of that nature.
Okay. All right. And in terms of the liability for the parents, if they should get into an accident, is it on the child or is it on the parent?
Well, in the state of Florida, anybody
Mm.
can file a lawsuit for anything, right? A civil suit. As far as liability goes, it just depends who's at fault and if there's any type of injuries to anybody involved in the crash. Child, if they are at fault, they could be cited. So you're talking about a traffic citation. So any of those things are possible. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
A lot of times on social media, we'll see people taking videos of these people riding their e-bikes or kids doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing. and people are taking videos of them and posting them. Are there any legal ramifications from that? Like, can you use that information to find somebody doing something wrong?
So the answer is yes, absolutely, we can. So there's no expectation of privacy when you are out and about in public, right? So
Okay.
when you are walking outside, riding your bike, driving a car, wherever the public can view somebody, there's no expectation of privacy. So
Okay.
absolutely, you can video anything and you could even post it online.
Okay.
We've asked the community to help us out in identifying, unsafe behavior, and a lot of times we'll get people to send us videos or some photos of things happening either from their ring camera or whatever they can safely record. And we work a lot with our school resource officers to identify the teens involved, to identify their
Okay.
parents, to have these conversations with them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a crime. If we see that there's unsafe behavior escalating, we just may go out and make contact with the parents and the teen just to say, hey, listen, you may want to consider these things, and just have a conversation, more educational.
Got it.
That right there is a great conversation to have in itself with your kids. Like, people are watching all the time. Like, think about what you're doing. Would you want your face plastered all over the news or all over social media? Because that's what our world has come to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just knowing that somebody's always watching, think before you act.
Yes. Agreed.
We are in the midst of summer right now. And obviously, we all want our children to have a break from education and school. But are there more risky behaviors happening during the summer? And are there common themes that you see in the police department or sheriff's office that you would like to share just to not tattle, but to educate parents on what they might not know is going on, that they can then have conversations with their children about?
Sure. So, generally, what we see during the summer is just more unsupervised activity. Parents are still working
Mhm.
while kids are off of school, and maybe they're just kind of less supervised. Let's just say that. So
Okay.
I think that it's important, even though parents obviously have to continue to go to work, maintain the household, whatnot, just to continue to check in with your kids every day. Find out who they're hanging out with. Find out how they're spending their time. If they're out and about, where are they? Where are they going? Are they where they say they are supposed to
Mhm.
be?
Mhm.
Things of that nature. And phones are a really big part of the equation, because it's a mini computer, right, in these kids' hands, and they have access to everything, the whole world, really.
Right.
So, keeping an eye on that, monitoring who they're talking to, things that they're saying, things that they're posting. So, just overall supervision. I think it
Yeah.
all comes back to that. The problems we see is with a lack of supervision.
Okay.
Given your past, the departments you've worked in the past, are crimes against children, do they escalate during the summer if they have more free time, or is there no data around when crimes against children take place?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any specific um, data as it relates to when there are crimes against
Yeah.
children. It can happen at any time. We do know, depending on what type of crime, especially those sexual in nature, are really underreported.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
You see adults and even celebrities that are coming out years later and saying this happened to
Yeah.
me when I was a
Yeah,
child.
sure.
So
Mhm.
it's underreported, which is why I recommend that parents, again, you're paying attention to your kids. Is there a change of behavior? Is there something new, sudden, different friends,
Right.
secrecy, that kind of thing?
Sure.
Could just be a clue as to there's something possibly
Hmm.
going on.
Great.
Got it.
Um, can you share with us your experience with parties, underage parties specifically. I have 3 young adult children, and I feel like at some point I've heard the words, "We can't go to that party. The cops were there. They broke it up." So, can you share with us what exactly that means? The cops were there, or are you guys being called because of noise ordinance or underage drinking or all of it?
Right. So parties, or open house parties is what we refer them to. Most of the time, we do get called out to these types of parties because of noise complaints or traffic complaints. There are cars parked
Mhm.
everywhere,
Mhm. Sure.
a large amount of kids in the roadway. For all those numerous reasons, we come out. A lot of times, for those of you that live in gated communities, the security will actually call us out because they're receiving complaints from the homeowners.
Okay.
So what we do is we come out, make contact with the homeowner or the resident. If it's a noise complaint, obviously we address that. But I think what parents need to realize when it comes to that is that allowing or failing to prevent underage drinking or drug use is criminal. It could lead to a charge of, like I said, an open house party or contributing to the delinquency of a minor, not to mention civil liability issues if, for say, there was certain underage drinking at the home and then, a crash would follow that if there was drinking and driving involved and whatnot. As an adult, a responsible adult in the household, I think parents really need to consider what's happening on their property and at their
Mhm.
residence and realize that they're liable. God forbid if something bad was to happen.
Think that's a really good point, that parents are liable for what is happening in their house.
Yeah. But
Correct.
should
In their
you
house, in their yards, right? In the backyard. Yes.
And it doesn't matter if their kids say, "Oh, I didn't know they were bringing alcohol," or it's still, if it takes place on your property, you are responsible.
Well, you have to know, right? I mean, I think it'd be pretty difficult not to know if you had 200 kids at your house. I mean, if they
Especially in
leave
this
and
day and age when people have the Ring and every
Yes.
other.
Yeah.
right. And
And
which
what
brings
it
me back to the videoing that you guys were talking about earlier. Everybody videos. So your
Yes.
neighbors are video recording what's happening on your property. They're the ones that are upset. It's out there, especially if it's happening outdoors.
Right.
And if you should go to a party for noise disturbance and you get there and you realize there is no supervision, right? It is just underage kids. Do you wait and get contact with the parents to come home to observe what's going on, or are you calling or having the kids call their parents to come get them? Like, how does that play out?
Right. We're doing that all at once. We're
Okay.
probably doing that all at once. We're working with um the homeowner or the security company if it's an association. We're making contact with the homeowner, or a responsible adult. It may be you may have
An
people that are
older
18 or
sibling.
over. Yeah,
Mhm.
an older sibling. I mean, once you're
Yep.
18, you're legally considered an adult and you're responsible for what's going on around you. So, we're doing all those things, but most importantly, we're making sure that everybody is healthy. And if there's any type of medical emergency, we notify fire rescue. That's really our main
Yeah.
concern, especially in dealing with alcohol and drugs,
Mhm.
because we don't know if anybody's in any danger, physical danger.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Hmm.
I
Hopping back for a second, I know we spoke about how kids are getting into trouble being unsupervised. When we talk about their phones, are you seeing a lot more cyberbullying or stuff of that nature?
I don't say I'm seeing more of it. I see it, and I have
Right.
seen it for years. I think that they're kids, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes they're very impulsive, sometimes they say things that they intend to be a joke. But what they don't realize is that a single post or photo or message, just something that they think is perhaps funny or could impact them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And that's what we see. We investigate any type of cyberbullying or threats. sexting, anything like that, we investigate it, even if on the face it's not a crime. For example, we want to make contact with the child, we want to make contact with the parents, we want to make sure that if it's a post about violence, that they have no ability to carry out that violence. We want to make sure that the parents are cooperative and they understand what's happening. We can prevent something from happening in the future. We have co-responder units that will go out with us, go out with the deputies, we'll go out with our threat management team, and they are certified psychologists that will meet with the child, will meet with the parents and offer services. So it's just something that comes with social media. We see it often. I don't want to say we see it more, it just comes with the territory.
Um, Online predators. Does the police department, in conjunction with the school, do any sort of education for parents and kids on how do we talk to our kids and make sure that they are aware what's going on, whether they're in these chat rooms or playing video games and talking to complete strangers that may be adults and not other kids? Is there something that you can share with us that we can share with parents? How do we know what we don't know?
Right. Yes. So I don't know if there's existing curriculum or training out in Broward schools. I'm not familiar with that, but I
Okay.
do know that, there's plenty of websites that offer information. You have here in Broward, you have the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force that specifically deals with that type of crime and incidents. You have the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, also that
Hmm.
puts out educational material. I mean, you can pretty much Google this type of information, and as time has gone on, the courts have forced these social media platforms to instill better child controls, parental controls, which I recommend everybody take advantage of.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid, my parents would have conversations with me about not talking to strangers.
Yeah.
Now that's
Stranger danger.
evolved. Right, now that's evolved to now social
Right.
media,
Yeah.
and again, it goes back to talking to your kids and telling them, "Hey, the person you may be chatting with in a Roblox chat room may not be a child, it may be an
Hmm.
adult." And things telling them what not to share, don't share your location or your address and things of
Hmm.
that nature. So just talking to them more about it.
Okay.
And what about when it's someone that they know? Let's just talk specifically about sexting. Um, so I'm assuming sexting is sending something explicit, either by suggestion of words or pictures. Is it both of those things?
So, sexting is sending a photo or a video of sexually explicit
Material.
activity, is what it
Okay,
is.
we would like to believe that it's all adults taking advantage of our kids doing these things, but there are times when other kids are sending certain things to their peers.
Yes. Yes.
Who is there a legal responsibility of a parent in that role?
So that's exactly what sexting is. So sexting is a crime involving minors. Let me kind of back up a little bit. So sending any kind of sexually explicit material of a child is child pornography, right?
Yes.
But what was happening is these images were being exchanged with minors. So instead of labeling a minor with transmitting child pornography, the courts came up with a sexting type of charge,
Okay.
which is really non criminal. It's a non criminal citation and involves community service. It involves certain factors um, to qualify as sexting. For example, I think the most important one is if you receive an image, to immediately report it to a parent and not share it with everyone, right? So, something like that would qualify as sexting for a child.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
if you're an adult and you're sharing these messages, you don't it doesn't qualify as sexting. That's transmission of child pornography. So it's
Okay.
very different, right? So
Right.
what we're
And that's
talking
a felon
about, right,
as opposed to
right,
children doing it. But
not
is there
non-criminal.
is there if it still takes place where the parent is the owner of that cell phone,
Mhm.
Can they be charged with a felony, or is it whoever sent it, and how do you prove that, though?
So it depends. I mean, an adult is only going to get it will get charged with that if they know or if they knew it was on the phone, and if they're sharing the image, if they took the
Right.
image, if
Okay.
they're, downloading the image, there has to be some sort of evidence that the parent knew that it
Right.
was there, didn't report it.
Okay.
In talking to kids about this kind of thing, we obviously tell them that this is not something that they should have on their phones, right? And I think
Mm.
parents, this is a good conversation for kids as well. Once your image is out there, it's out there, right? It's hard to get
Take
back.
it back.
Um, and when we teach this at schools, we bring like a tube of toothpaste out, and we show the kids. We take all the toothpaste out, and then we say, okay, this is what you put out on social media, and we don't want it on social media anymore. So let's put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's like impossible. You can't
Right.
do it. Right? It's already out there. Certainly it's a conversation to have with kids. If they see something like this, it can turn into cyberbullying. But if they do receive any type of images, that they report it right away to their parents, school staff, and to the police, especially if it's sexually explicit material. A lot of times, what we see is not sexually explicit, it's just a nude image. But again, that's still problematic, and it's still a problem.
And what about kids who have shared nude images of themselves and then realize that they've sent it now to an adult that they thought was a kid, and then they're trying to get money or threaten them if
Being
they tell
reported.
anybody?
Right. So we
Mm.
actually see this a lot, and it's not exclusive to kids. It happens to adults as well, where we see
Okay.
extortion. It's a scam essentially,
Okay.
that's run online, and we get kids and adults that are victim of it.
Okay.
A lot of times, there is no image. They make you think that there's an image, or they have some information about you. But we recommend everyone to report that to us so that we can do an investigation and determine, who's on the other end of that request for that money.
I'm assuming we should be upfront with our children that should this happen, we're of course educating them that they should not be sending these types of images to their friends or another a partner. But should it go out there and this should happen, we absolutely need to know right away.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no judgment zone,
Right. Right.
Right, right, right.
right?
So there's listen, we live social media, computers, the internet, everything has, it seems, has made parenting even more challenging than it has been in the past. And I feel like probably every generation before us has said parenting is hard because of this, or parenting is hard because of that. And now we throw the internet and social media, and now the latest is AI. We throw that out there. What would you say to parents? What's the best way to try and keep our kids safe?
Safe in terms of social media.
Or in general, everything, predators, all of it. How do we keep our kids safe, Captain?
Put them in a little bubble and don't let them go
Yeah.
anywhere. Well, I think trust and accountability, I think, are really important. I think that's at the forefront of any type of relationship with anyone, to be able
Sure.
to trust someone and to be an accountable within that relationship. So I think that's a important conversation to have with your kids. They obviously are, have growing pains and are growing up and are becoming more independent, but it's still important to set clear expectations, to know where they are, who they're with, and maintain a reasonable level of oversight and supervision when it comes to what they're doing and who they're hanging out with and what they're looking at online, who they're talking to. It's not about controlling them, but it's about setting healthy boundaries about safety. At the end of the day, it's your job to be the parent, not the friend. I have
Yeah.
that conversation with my kids all the time. I
Yep.
remind them, I am not your friend.
Friend.
I'm your parent. And my job is to keep you safe. And that's what we're going to do. And that's my non negotiable.
I think that is a great non-negotiable. And it's something Carrie and I talk about with our listeners, just you're their parent. That is your job. And also the open lines of communication.
Yep.
Yes.
I know sometimes we think by putting it out there and sharing the information, and we expect you're going to make mistakes. And this is what we went through. Like we're almost afraid to say these things because we're like, oh no, it's going to happen. And when it happens, we put it out there, but that's what's supposed to happen. We need to start sharing with them that mistakes are going to be made, poor decisions are going to be made. This is part of growing up. I'm still your parent. I will be here for you no matter what. And that's what I think we need to get comfortable with as parents. Not that we're supposed to be a perfect parent to have perfect children. It's the open lines that when the mistakes happen, I'm still your mom and I'm going to be here. Please come to me. So the trust, as you said, is super, super important. So, all right. Well, we appreciate your time. Is there anything else that we did not ask you that you think that it is super important for our listeners out there to know, whether it's you're having your mom hat on or whether you're having your captain's hat on? Is there anything else you'd like to offer up?
I think the other thing that we didn't touch on that's important to talk about is the difference between e-bikes and e-motorcycles.
Oh,
Um, some people think that they're one and the same, um, when they're really not. An e-bike is essentially a bicycle that's powered by a battery. It's under 750 watts, and the top speed is 28 miles an hour. But an
okay.
e-motorcycle, an electric motorcycle, looks very similar to an e-bike, and it could reach speeds up to 50 miles an hour.
Oh my
So a
goodness.
lot of what we've seen, at least in the city of Parkland here, have been kids on e-motorcycles, not
Oh my, that's
e-bikes.
a big difference.
It's a huge difference. Essentially, Florida law says an e-motorcycle is a motorcycle. An
Yeah.
e-dirt bike is a motorcycle. So you have to be licensed, insured, the bike has to be registered, you have to have a motorcycle endorsement. It's essentially you're driving a motor vehicle.
Hmm.
And we have had kids as young as 12 riding motorcycles in the city. So it's extremely dangerous. I mean, we've made contact with parents who have said that they just didn't know that this was the case, that these dirt bikes were capable of this. So again, I think it comes down to really researching and really understanding what are your kids doing.
Right.
Um,
Where, you bring that up, but where do golf carts fit into this scenario? Because we're seeing the kids on the golf carts too. So do they fall into the motorized vehicle or?
So golf carts, okay, so there's 2 types of golf carts, that's a great question. So a regular golf cart, which is what we think of, is what you see on a golf course and can only be driven on a golf course. I think the top speed is right around 25 miles an hour. So that can only be driven on a golf course. It can't be on the roads or the sidewalks or anywhere else where sometimes we see them. And then the other classification is a low speed vehicle. And those look like a golf cart, but they have extra added features like side mirrors, headlights, they have windshield wipers, they have seat belts, and then they also have a tag. You have to register it with the state of Florida, just like you would your vehicle, and you have to have insurance as well. So those low speed vehicles can travel on any roadway that is 35 miles an hour or lower. So
Okay,
a lot of times you'll see them on the east side of the city, on Parkside Drive or Holmberg because of the speeds.
sure.
It's 35 miles an hour or less, and you'll see some of those low speed vehicles there. So there's two different classifications. When it comes to driving them, you have to have a license. To drive a low speed vehicle, you have to have a license. A golf cart, I believe, is the same. Florida law recently changed. You also have to have a license to drive a golf cart as well.
So when we say license, you mean driver's license? They have to be 16 or older?
Yes, driver's
Okay.
license,
Okay.
yes.
So really the only thing anyone under 16 can be driving is either a self-propelled bicycle or an e-bike that is an e-bike, not an e-motorcycle, correct?
Correct. Or if you have a learner's permit, with your learner's permit and a licensed driver, you could also drive a vehicle as well.
Okay.
But does a learner's permit allow you to drive an e-motorcycle if only one person is on it?
No,
Mm.
no.
Okay, there you have it, guys.
Yeah.
Those are some really important distinctions
Yes.
and information for parents to know.
Yes.
Yes, that was another thing. I had a parent call me to find out if their kid can just take their golf cart and ride around the neighborhood. Obviously, I had follow up questions, but again, it comes down to okay, what is your child doing? Where are they going? Are they
Mhm.
putting other kids on the golf cart? We've had some serious golf cart crashes out here
Yes. Right.
in the parks, in communities. It's dangerous. And again, it comes back to civil liability for the golf cart owner. God forbid if anything were to happen. Safety is our number one concern. And we always, err on the side of caution and preventing any unsafe activity because the last thing we want to do is knock on somebody's door and give them life changing news that
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
bad happens.
of
We
course.
want to stay ahead of it. We want to educate the community and partner with them in making sure that the kids are safe.
I give that parent, though, credit for calling you
Mhm.
first before just letting their kid take their golf cart out. If you don't know, ask.
Yes, absolutely. And we do. We get phone calls all the time about e-bikes. We'll have some parents call us generally near the holidays, with e-bike questions and what does this
Mhm.
mean and this wattage. And so
Okay.
we do. We appreciate those calls and we're always up for those types of conversations.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, we thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to be with us.
Yes,
And
thank
I
you.
know our listeners will be quite educated after listening to this episode. Thank you so much. Would you be able to offer a direct number to where they should call, not directly to you, but to the sheriff's office or in Broward County, Parkland? Where can they call to get more education, or what website could they go to if they have further questions?
Sure, absolutely. So you can call our district office, and that's in the city of Parkland, and that number is 954-753-5050. You could also write us an email, and that is parkland@sheriff.org and we'll respond to you there as well. You can get all our contact information on the City of Parkland government website or the Broward Sheriff's Office website. And then I always recommend that you follow us on Facebook. We have community specific updates and safety information on Facebook that you can follow. And we're always posting these types of tips, especially related to e bikes, golf carts, and things that really our residents are interested in knowing about.
And
Okay, great.
just to be clear, one more question. These regulations, are they county specific? Are they state specific?
So these are state laws, Florida statutes. They're all governed by Florida statutes. The only local ordinance that we have here in the city of Parkland is the one that was recently passed. And when I say recently, maybe about a year ago, by our city commission, where they limit e-bikes in our parks. So they
Yeah.
limit the use of e-bikes on the sidewalks in the parks, on the paths in the parks. So they've asked the kids to park them at the bike racks and then use the sidewalks with the rest of the pedestrians. So that is local to the city of Parkland.
Okay,
Everything else is guided by Florida statutes.
got it. Thank you
Okay,
for
great.
clearing that up.
Right. All right. So thank you so much again. Thank you so much, Captain McCardle.
My
We
pleasure.
appreciate your time. And to those of you who are listening, please follow us at Parent Coaches Unleashed on Instagram and TikTok. And if you have any questions for us, you can reach us by email info@parentcoachesunleashed.com. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed with Carrie and Jessica. Together, we can raise the next generation of independent, capable, and compassionate young adults.
We encourage you to send us an email with questions and feedback to info@parentcoachesunleashed.com. Please remember, You are not alone on this parenting journey.